Hariom children. With the discovery of the steam engine and later petrol and diesel powered engines, water transport also underwent a revolution. Ferries and ships were used to transport goods and people across rivers. Then, the ships are used for cargo and warfare. Oil is carried by special ships called tankers. Man became center point to all ideologies. There was a change in the outlook of treating each other as a human beings. Instead of religion, man became center point of all ideologies. Ideologies means a system of ideas and ideals. Oceans have played a significant role in promoting tourist and cargo transportation. Oceanic transport offers much safety and there are limited constraints compared to the land transport. History of sea transport is the oldest modes of transportation in the world. The first boats were made from hollowed logs, rafts, and skins which are traced back to 7000 BC. During Roman times, a fundamental distinction was made between long ships used for military purposes and round ships for trade. Egyptians are said to be the pioneers of pleasure travel by waterway that extended to the sea routes. In a short span, which can be traced back to 3500 BC, the East China Sea route also has a history of over 3000 years. During the progress of Persian kingdom, the Roman Empire and Han Empire in China, the whole Mediterranean coastal region became a well established travel and trade routes utilizing highly organized markets and trade networks. Some port cities became extremely powerful. Many kingdoms occupied many ports to control the international travel and trade which takes place through these ports. This led to the advancement and in luxury travels. In this slide, you can see the port cities. This led to the advancement of luxury travels in ancient world, facilitated an exchange of ideas, the spread of religion, and there were also some negative impacts such as piracy, which means the practice of attacking and spread of diseases from one country to another's, like how we are facing COVID-19 right now. Children, piracy means the practicing of attacking and robbing ships at sea. Around 1000 AD, the great ocean voyage of the Vikings used clinker bellboats which had the lengths up to 30 meters gave way to the beginning of the modern ocean travels for the purpose of knowledge and pleasure. But during this period, the tourists traveled across the Mediterranean Sea and across Indian Ocean was determined by the weather and the will and the wish of the merchant ships. Tourists who went by sea were dependent on merchants shipping without proper cabin facilities and with constant risk of pirate attacks. However, shipping changed forever with the invention of the first steam driven ship with wooden hull and paddles in 1807. During the 19th century, iron and steel ship gradually took over from wooden ship built and then with the welded steel as still is used today. This is the picture of modern ship now. In the beginning of tourism and exploration were confined to a small geographic areas after the invention of ships and ocean going vessels. Today, human beings have no barriers because of the floatability and reduced friction motion. Vessels are capable of carrying far better, greater loads, far greater weight, and also it is the cheapest of all forms of transport. Cruise ships were promoted after 1900 AD. It provides updating the technologies to improvise the ships to meet the international qualities. As we all know, almost two-thirds of the earth is covered by water, and ocean cover 41% of the total of the water bodies. It covers the most part of the earth. Sea routes are chosen to provide sea links to the land and ports in the economic way. The North Atlantic Ocean route, the Suez Canal route, the Cape of Good Hope route, Panama Canal route, the South Atlantic route, the Trans-Pacific route. These routes we will be learning in detail later. India has the longest coastlines with approximately 7,500 kilometers, and there are 9 coastal Indian states which have important seaports. As we have already learned that in 14th and 15th century, Europeans came to India for trade. There was great demand for Indian spices. They had trade with other Asian countries. Reaching India, they realized that it was the storehouse of spices and manpower. They could exploit us and our riches, and they explored India. There started the dominance of Western world in the East. They established their colonies in India. Vasco da Gama went back with the stories of our riches. Spices got plenty in India with cheap rates. Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama came first to India. Abdul Majid of Gujarat helped Vasco da Gama enter India through Calicut. With the discovery of new sea routes began a new era of trade between Europe and Asia. There was competition among European countries for acquiring trade monopoly in India. The British established British East India Company in 1500 AD to carry out trade in India. India and France were competent to carry out trade in India. The Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople, that is in Istanbul, in 1453 AD. They blocked all the sea routes between Europe and Asia. As a result, the trade between Europe and Asia were affected. Therefore, European sailors like Bartholomew Dias, Columbus, and Vasco da Gama tried to find out a new sea route to e- eastern countries like India. In the process, they ended up discovering new sea routes never known to mankind till then. The Portuguese sailor Bartholomew Dias tried to find out the sea route to India through Africa. He could not proceed further. Columbus set out in search of India towards the west of the Atlantic Ocean to reach India. Finally, it was Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese sailor, who discovered the sea route to India in 1498 AD. In 1519 AD, Ferdinand Magellan a Portuguese sailor, set out on a voyage with the purpose of circumnavigating the earth. Unfortunately, he was killed before he completed the voyage, but his co sailors completed the circumnavigation. This was the first sea voyage around the globe in the history of the world. Circumnavigation means to sail or travel all around the earth. Now, let's understand the great personalities who discovered the sea routes. This is the picture of Bartholomew Dias, who was the first European to sail to the Cape of Good Hope near the southern tip of Africa in 1488 CE. It marked the opening of a new route to the east, and the Europeans could directly trade with India, bypassing the Middle East land routes and middlemen. Bartholomew Dias discovered a total of 2028 kilometers of unknown and unexplored African coast. In 1500 CE, Dias sailed under a Portuguese navigation Pedro Alves Cabral. This exploration led to the discovery of Brazil. The next picture is of Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus undertook 4 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean with the hope of finding a direct sea route that could be used for trading between Europe and Asia. He proposed to reach South and Southeast Asia by sailing westward. His first journey was in 1492 CE, and instead of arriving at Japan, he had intended he landed on an island in the Bahamas archipelago. Columbus called the island San Salvador and called the native people Indios, Spanish for Indians. He made 3 more voyages to the parts of the New World, American continents. Columbus had set out to discover Asia, but he discovered America instead. The third picture is of Vasco da Gama's. Vasco da Gama was a tough, fearless navigator and was the first European to sail directly from Europe to India. Vasco da Gama traveled around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa and arrived in Calicut, now called as Kozhikode, in 1498 CE. CE means Common Era. This voyage was the first to link Europe and Asia through sea route. Vasco da Gama faced opposition from the local traders and he returned to Portugal. However, in 1502 CE, Vasco da Gama made a second trip in India, and this time with armed ships. The discovery of the sea route to India was very significant for the Portuguese because they established a long lasting colonial empire in Asia. The fourth picture is of Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan was the first European to cross the Pacific Ocean and circumnavigate around the globe. In 1519 CE, he set out with a fleet of 5 ships from Spain to discover a western sea route to Spice Island. It was a very long and dangerous voyage, and Magellan was killed in a battle with the natives in Philippines. However, the voyage was continued and was completed by only 1 ship, the Victoria. Although Magellan could not complete his final voyage, he did cross all the meridians of the world. Magellan voyage proved that the earth is round and gave an idea about the distribution of land and water on its surface. The fifth picture is of John Cabot. In 1497 CE, John Cabot sailed out of Bristol on a small ship, the Matthew, with a crew of 18 men, and discovered parts of North America, later named Newfoundland. He believed it was Asia and claimed it for England. This is widely considered to be the first European discovery of North America since the Vikings' journey of the 11th century. The sixth picture is of James Cook. James Cook made 3 voyages to the Pacific Ocean and mapped in great details lands from New Zealand to Hawaii. He surveyed and named features and recorded islands and coastlines on European maps for the first time. Cook's 12 years sailing around the Pacific Ocean contributed much to European knowledge of the area. Several islands, such as the Sandwich Islands, Hawaii, were encountered for the first time by the Europeans, and is more accurate navigational charting of large areas of the Pacific was a major achievement. With this, we'll be completing the third chapter, Evolution of Transport. Thank you. Hariom.